Oh my goodness, this is getting ridiculous, man. But as ridiculous as it's getting, it does not mean we are not able to talk about it, because this article popped up on my feed the other day, and I saw the comments, I saw the response, I saw what people were saying about the piece itself, and I was like, boom, baby, that is ridiculous, but let's go ahead and make a video about it anyway, because I need topics. Let's go over onto Montreal Hockey now, and just discuss what the newest idea entails as thrown out here by Marco D'Amico. This article was published on July 16th, so 5 days ago. Kirby Dach, Montreal Canadiens second-line center, or trade bait? Yeah, we're talking about the idea of trading Kirby Dach weeks after acquiring him at the 2022 NHL draft. My goodness. I'm not good at this YouTubing thing, eh? But this article did indeed pop up on my timeline. I gave it a read. It was a really interesting piece, and I wanted to share some of the ideas thrown around in this article with you. I'll go out there and leave a link in the description as always if you want to go ahead and read this yourself. The article opens up by talking about Kirby Dach, third overall player, Chicago Blackhawks guy, 6'4", we know all the details of this guy. Sure, while he might not be the superstar third overall player that a lot of Chicago fans wanted him to become after seeing what he did last season where he was half a point a game, there still is a boatload of potential with this player. He's only 21 years old. In fact, he's younger than I am, and I feel pretty young, if I do say so myself. So there still is a lot more time for him to improve. But in a brilliant piece by The Athletic, Arpon Basu and Murat Ates dove into all the chatter regarding a certain Winnipeg Jets center and the Canadiens too. Of course, D'Amico is referring to Pierre-Luc Dubois, another third overall guy, taken 3 years prior to Kirby Dach's third overall selection by the hands of the Chicago Blackhawks. Dubois was taken by Columbus. He wanted to leave Columbus. He played very poorly for Columbus after it was apparent that he wanted to leave. He got sent over to Winnipeg. He produced a pretty good season this season after playing pretty meh with the team starting out in his tenure there. But now he wants to leave as well, and he wants to go to Montreal. The article on Montreal Hockey Now continues. Similar to reports released by Montreal Hockey Now the past week, they also confirmed the significant interest Pierre-Luc Dubois has in playing in Montreal, and that the Winnipeg Jets and the Canadiens are in talks for the young Quebec-born center. As reported by Basu and Ates, those talks are at a standstill at the moment because the Jets are looking for the Canadiens to add a top-end player that seems to be a deal-breaker for the club. Now, pause. We did make a video lately talking about how there was almost a Pierre-Luc Dubois trade that went down at the draft where Montreal almost acquired this guy, and in fact, it was kind of crazy because Pierre-Luc Dubois himself was at the draft expecting to get traded to Montreal, and he wanted to be there to, I don't know, maybe give the fans a little pop and say hi to Kent Hughes and shake the hands of everybody at the Montreal table. It's kind of weird how a player for the Winnipeg Jets is attending the event with that idea in mind. That's the reason they're going. Like, it's so weird to me, man. It blows my mind to this day, but there was indeed a conversation or two thrown around there saying that the Canadiens and the Jets were talking, and they were talking about Dubois. They almost made a trade. Almost didn't. Who really knows? There was a piece or two that wasn't fitting into the puzzle there that did not allow the trade to go through. One could assume that the Jets would rightfully ask for one of Suzuki or Caulfield to be involved in the deal, which, if you remember, was a no-go back in January of 2021 when Columbus was shopping Dubois, and that idea remains the same today. With that being said, though, could Kirby Dach be a piece that could entice the Jets to take a different direction in terms of an acceptable package for their young center? After all, Kirby Dach is a former third overall pick that showed good promise in his rookie season, but injuries and organizational decisions have hampered his development over the last 18 months. The youngster was a force in junior, combining a rare combination of size and speed, along with elite vision, to be one of the better centers to come out of the dub in a few years. That being said, he hasn't been able to show that dominance off at the NHL level on a consistent basis. And yeah, that's an assessment that we have seen as well. The article then talks about the idea of Christian Dvorak for Pierre-Luc Dubois, that in which we already discussed in the previous video, so go ahead and watch that. But I don't know, if you're going to go out there and try to project Kirby Dach being that guy instead, I do think when it comes to just raw talent, you know, like who's the better player today, I would probably say that Christian Dvorak is the more refined, more tuned up player when it comes to calibrating to the NHL game and knowing what it is he has to do to be a successful two-way center, but I definitely do want to believe in the potential of Kirby Dach as well. If you had seen the What Happened video talking about how Kirby Dach was compared to Ryan Getzlaf back in the 2019 draft, you would have seen my optimism. Sure, I really want to believe in this guy, because obviously talents like this do not come often, so when you do have one that was showing off as good of a stock as Kirby Dach was earlier on in his career, you want to say that that's got the potential to grow, and in my heart of hearts, I do believe there is a higher ceiling and a potential of hitting that ceiling than meets the eye, but I would say that Christian Dvorak in 2021-2022 was a better hockey player, so if you're going to go out there and trade Dach in a package for Dubois, you might not have to pay as much as Dvorak because there's more potential there, although if the Winnipeg Jets are like, yeah, no, we're not going to accept that, like, Dvorak is a better player, so why would we accept a lesser package with Dach instead? That would totally make sense to me as well. If they are actually focused on winning in the short term, they would likely see more value in Dvorak rather than a Kirby Dach who still has a few more years of growing to do. But of course, Pierre-Luc Dubois is a better player through and through. Multiple 60-point seasons, he is already an established two-way force in the NHL level, and he was like that ever since making his debut in 2016-17. But whatever package the Canadiens end up giving if they trade a Dach away for Dubois, I honestly feel like I'd be able to stomach it, you know? Because if you backtrack the Kirby Dach acquisition in the first place, you acknowledge, okay, the Canadiens gave up, what was it, like Alexander Romanov, a second or a third, or was it a third and a fourth, or something like that? Imagine giving up Alexander Romanov and 2 other mid-round picks for Kirby Dach, only to flip away Dach and some other stuff for Pierre-Luc Dubois. I still question whether or not Dubois is a personality that I would want on the Montreal Canadiens, but if there is an opportunity to make somewhat of a trade like that, I honestly think that the Canadiens might be able to do it and come out looking a lot better than they had been heading into this offseason period. Now, it does say here in the same article, it would not make much sense from a roster construction perspective to have both Dach and Dubois on the same roster for the Canadiens, as Dach would be blocked from moving up in the lineup with Suzuki and Dubois in front of him. On the flip side, it also doesn't make much sense to pay the price the Jets are asking for Dubois to play him on the wing either, which would lead one to believe if the acquisition of Dubois does indeed happen, Dach would be a part of the package going the other way. Now, we said this as well, that if Pierre-Luc Dubois is so dead set on playing for Montreal, you know, it's a very open secret at this point. The guy wants to be traded there. The guy was expecting to be traded there. There is no reason why Kent Hughes should go in there and say, okay, you want this, that, and the other thing for Dubois? Here, it's this, that, and the other thing. Kent Hughes has all the right to go out there and say, no, we're not paying that. Your guy wants to come here. You want to trade your guy. You do not have any leverage here. This is our offer. We'll give you a second-round pick, Kirby Dach, and I don't know, some other prospect that the Canadiens fan base has kind of turned on already, and take it or leave it. And if they just say no, okay, give us another second and we'll accept that. Kent Hughes has the option to say no, we're not going to give you another second, and we know you can't use any of this as bargaining power against us and threaten us with the prospect of going to another team, because Dubois doesn't want to go to another team. He only wants to go here. So, Kirby Dach might actually be a piece that I would consider in a trade. I mean, I like Dach a lot, and y'all know that. It's just, if there is an opportunity to really upgrade from Dach to a Dubois, you really would be improving your team. I still doubt whether or not he is the guy that I would like to see play with the Canadiens and their core because of all the stuff that's gone on with Dubois the past few years, you know, leaving the QMJHL team he was on, being very public about trade requests there, being very public about trade requests from Columbus, and then the Winnipeg situation as well. There's just a fiery blaze of burnt bridges that Pierre-Luc Dubois has left with all the previous teams he has played for. And I get it, he probably wants to stick around in Montreal, that's the team he wants to play for, so maybe there's not going to be that same idea there. But I don't know. I mean, the same thing happened with Adam Fox, right? At least he was very vocal about only wanting to play in New York when he made his debut in the NHL after signing from Harvard. He went from Carolina, Calgary, and then New York eventually. Like, there was an entire conundrum there. It's pretty much the same situation here, just with a lot less bad blood, I feel, and a lot less disappointment in the moment, you know? At least Adam Fox was upfront about it at the very beginning, right? Dubois has to play a few years in Winnipeg and in Calgary before going out there and turning on those fan bases. It's kind of wild. But talk in the comments on your thoughts about the idea of Kirby Dach being a trade piece in a Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. Do you like this idea? Do you not? Let me know in the comments why that is. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.